Ready when you are.
When Linda's ready?
Go for it.
Okay. Good evening, everyone, and welcome to this meeting on Monday, April 23rd. I would like to call the meeting to order. Mayor Waterman is out of town this evening, and so hopefully this will go smoothly. Council, can I have adoption of the minutes from April 9th? We have a regular council meeting, a special council meeting, and a committee of the whole meeting. Councillor Barkwolf and Councillor Boot. All in favor? Okay. And we have a public hearing report also from April 9th that is up for adoption this evening as well. Peak and Holmes. All in favor? Carried. Do we have anything to add to the agenda this evening or changes to be made?
I'm not aware of any amendments, no.
Okay. Then if anyone has any other changes, we're good. Someone would like to move to adopt the agenda, please. Councillor Peak, Councillor Holmes. All in favor? Carried. Okay, we will move on to public comment opportunity. If any members of the public have anything they would like to speak to, as long as it's highlighted in yellow, this is your opportunity to come and speak at the microphone. Each person has 2 minutes. So if there's anyone, now is your opportunity. All right, we will carry on. Number 7 is the mayor's report. Just highlights a few of the items that Mayor Waterman wanted to speak to tonight. One is that last week was Earth Week in Summerland, and it was extremely successful. There were events all week long, including at the library. There was an event called Fill Your Boot, and I was able to actually attend that. And this isn't the mayor speaking, this is me speaking. I was able to attend that event because at the same time, there was the dedication of the new Reader's Terrace at the Summerland Library, and it was a project put together by the Friends of the Library Society, and it's absolutely wonderful. It's a fenced area, so now that area has paving stones, and it has grass, and it has trees, and some nice shade, and it's a well-received, and it's going to be a wonderful place for families to enjoy. So if you haven't seen it yet, I would highly recommend going to the library and enjoying the new patio. So also this past weekend, along with all these other events that were going on, there was a unveiling of the new cycling hub, which was presented and put together by the Trail of the Okanagan Society, which is just on the kitty corner to the library. So that, I missed that one, but I believe the mayor was there, and I think that that's a really great opportunity for Summerland to become a cycling destination. In good news, Erin Traynor has had her baby. Erin and Eric welcomed their baby on Thursday night. His name is Woods Neil Thompson, and he was born Penticton Hospital, and they are now home, and everyone is doing well. So that's very exciting, and we'll see how long it is till she comes back. So I think, in conclusion, it's nice to see the lovely spring weather, as long as things don't melt too quickly, and be vigilant out there and stay away from creeks and rivers. That's it.
Council, just a couple of more details on Earth Week, Earth Day. The Household Hazardous Waste and Recycling Roundup was particularly successful. There was well over 100 vehicles. We got really good feedback from the community. We're still looking at the final stats, but over 12,600 liters of chemicals were listed on transport manifest. So there's a thank you going out to Summerland Steam and Sadie for providing event volunteers for that as well. And I think Acting Mayor Carlson covered some of the other events at Earth Week, so it was well organized by all the various parties that participated. We had hoped by this council meeting to be able to announce the dates for open houses for the cannabis consultations. Just with a number of things that have come up, we didn't secure those dates, so something will be going out within the next week. Last week was so busy that a few of us that needed to collaborate didn't even see each other, let alone pick dates. So we hopefully will have that for mid-May. And as Acting Mayor Carlson noted, the waters and the warm weather, are causing a little bit more concern with the flooding. Garnet Dam is spilling now. We've had a meeting with our group of managers that are most involved with the emergency operations this afternoon, and are just formalizing a little bit more the communication patterns and responses to these events. Thank you.
All right. We'll carry on to 9.1. I'll just ask Nicole to tell me what I'm supposed to do here.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. That the information item, that Marina Zarillo be appointed to the Agricultural Advisory Committee for a 2-year term to expire March 31st, 2020. And that's coming out of the closed session.
Thank you very much. Moving on to 10.1, correspondence. If anyone from council would like to bring out anything from the correspondence package. Councillor Peak.
Yes, I'd like to make mention and thank the Minister of Municipal Affairs and Housing, Selena Robinson. We were granted funding of $10,000 for an aquatic center facility condition assessment, and that's a great opportunity for our community. And if I might also, I'd like to thank the BC Roads Builders and Heavy Construction Association for the information that they sent along. I think that's valuable as well.
Thank you. Anyone? All right. Would someone like to bring forward this for information? Councillor Peak?
I will do so.
Councillor Boot? And all in favor? Carried. Committee and commission minutes. There are 2 sets of minutes here, one from the Heritage Advisory Commission and one from the Parks and Recreation Commission. Anyone have any comment to make on this before we bring it forward? Yes, Councillor Barkwell.
I noticed in the minutes of the Heritage Advisory Commission that they recommend we modify our policy on naming places and such to take out the requirement that a name be pronounceable. And although on the first blush that sounds like common sense, it has been, they feel, a barrier to ever incorporating any First Nations names, and they give examples of lots of other places where signs include the First Nations name or word for stop, things like that. I wondered if how we would go about, taking up their suggestion.
I can speak to that. So how it's supposed to work when we get recommendations from our commissions and our committees is a staff report. Anytime they make a recommendation, formally make a recommendation, it should be brought forward to council, not just in the minutes here, but forward to council with a staff report. And I believe they got somewhat backlogged, but we will work through the recommendations that have happened and ensure they come forward so that you can then discuss it.
Okay.
Anything else? Nope. Someone like to bring forward to receive for information, please? Councillor Peak? Councillor Holmes? All in favor? Carried. All right, moving on to 11.1 is revitalization of the ALR. Currently, there's a process underway to look at the ALR and what should be done to modernize but also improve what's going on. I'd like to invite Frank Capel up to speak on this. He's currently the chair of the Agricultural Advisory Committee for the District of Summerland and will present what has been discussed.
Thank you. I'd like to thank the council for permitting us to address you on such an important topic. I'd also like to acknowledge that I'm joined by the Vice Chair, Denise McDonald, who's here with me tonight. So the Land Commission Act, which was introduced in February 22nd, 1973, with the purpose of protecting farmland. In the 2006 history of the Agricultural Land Reserve, it was estimated that between 4,000 and 6,000 hectares of arable BC soil were lost yearly prior to 1972 to non-farming purposes. In the past 45 years, there have been shifts in governance and priorities of the ALC and ALR, and we appreciate this opportunity to provide input into the revitalization of these important institutions. Our hope is that with this revitalization of the ALC and ALR will be strengthened, and that the recognition of agriculture as the priority use of ALR land will be reinforced. It's unfortunate and troubling that land within the ALR is continually vulnerable to urbanization. For Summerland, as you are aware, well over 70% of the farming operations are between 2 and 10 acres. Because of the prevalence of these smaller holdings, it is a major challenge for the Agricultural Advisory Committee to allow and assist farm operators to remain viable and succeed while living up to the spirit and the regulations of the ALC and ALR. As a committee, we met in mid-March and came up with a number of suggestions that we would like to submit to the advisory committee. And we have 9 of those, and I will just, we've grouped them with the objectives that the advisory committee has identified. The first objective that they identified was preserve the productive capacity of land in the ALR. And we have 3 suggestions related to footprint size and siting, farm site severance, and adding land to the ALR. The second objective was encouraging farming of land in the ALR for uses related to agriculture and food production. And our suggestions were related to foreign buyers of farmland and underutilized farmland. The third objective was with regards to strengthening the administration and governance of ALR and ALC. And our suggestions were in the realm of compliance and enforcement, number of zones, emergence of new crops, and budgets. We think that an agricultural land base is a vitally important legacy for future generations, and we hope that after this revitalization process, the ALC and ALR will have the tools and policies to protect farmland for the future citizens of British Columbia. And we'd be happy to answer any of the questions regarding our suggestions. We submitted the report to council ahead of time, so we hope you've had a chance to at least peruse it, and if you have any questions.
Does anyone have any questions for Frank? Yes, Councillor Boot.
Thank you. I don't, thank you, Madam Mayor. I don't have a question, but I do have a comment. And I would just like to say that clearly a fair bit of work and thought went into this 2-page submission that will be presented, if I understand it correctly. If we approve, it will be presented on behalf of the District of Summerland as our submission. Oh, that's great. Yeah, I especially am pleased to see item 3C, the emergence of new crops, and you're speaking specifically to the legalization of recreational marijuana. I'm really glad to see that you're suggesting that if it's an industrial setting, as in a enclosed building, that is more suitable for industrial lands rather than on agricultural land that can be farmed for food production. So I appreciate that very much. Thank you for doing this.
And Councillor Holmes.
Thank you, Denise.
Yeah, thanks for this. I thought the submission was very well thought out. I thought everything was very clearly stated, and I have to say I'm really impressed of how well written it is. You know, it's you don't always get that out of committees. So I don't know who wrote it, but it's very well written, and I agree with the content. My question is, was it endorsed unanimously by the committee?
Yes, it was.
Okay, thanks.
Well, we didn't have to vote. It was sort of, we hashed things up until we all agreed.
Okay, thanks.
Councillor Barkwell.
Yes, my comment is in regards to item 3C as well. And you sort of are open to the suggestion that if marijuana was to be grown in a field, nature, or greenhouses, that would be okay on ALR land. And I just do not want to see marijuana grown on ALR land. I think it's an industrial crop. It should only be in the industrial area. If you had a field of, for one, the security requirements are probably not going to permit it. but the smell from marijuana is a huge problem. It's similar to like mushroom farms on the coast, if you remember the controversy there. So although I agree with every suggestion you have here, I'm going to propose a modification that cannabis crops only be grown on industrial lands and not in greenhouse or field settings at all.
So, just to question then, if something like this is coming up as part of a conversation, should we be discussing that later? Or is this like once we have a motion or something, or does that matter at this point?
It matters, but you can get the clarification right now. Right now, while you have your speaker here, it's okay to express an opinion to get the information from the speaker.
Thank you. Go ahead.
With regards to the odor and smell, I don't disagree with you. I think, especially under those industrial type, those large buildings, it's a real issue, a problem. The reasoning, I mean, part of it will depend. I mean, we all are waiting to hear what all the regulations are, and if the ALC does come down and say that cannabis is an agricultural crop, we won't. If I'm correct, we won't be able to prevent it from being grown on an agricultural land. But part of the rationale is if the purpose of legalizing cannabis, we get in all kinds of discussions around that, if it's to prevent or to reduce the amount of black market marijuana, if you limit it to just these large industrial type of settings, it's only going to be the large companies that are capitalized to be able to do that. The smaller farmer that wants to grow artisanal cannabis, and if you think of it like craft beer or small estate wineries, at that kind of level, you're preventing that kind of economic growth or opportunity for farming. So that's why we were thinking of, we made the comment about the industrial stuff on industrial land. And even there, if it's close to, you look at James Lake, it's pretty close to some residential. And if it's put on that kind of a situation, you're going to have complaints from neighbors also. But out in the, it's something that we think that it's a compromise. And this all may be moved, depending on what the Agricultural Land Commission decides when it comes up with its regulation.
Yeah. So this document is presumably to help influence the Agricultural Land Commission. They'll take it and all the other submissions from around the province and make up their own rules. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, Councillor Boot.
Just a note too, that this ends, I believe, April the 30th, so there's only a week left to put the submission in.
Councillor Peak.
I did speak to Frank very briefly because he is on the APC committee, and I did attend the APC committee, and they in fact were concerned about cannabis production being only permitted in the industrial zone because they feel that our industrial zones are quite small and they didn't want to see it consumed. But in speaking to Frank, he was speaking about the principle of, and I agree with him in terms of when you're having a full discussion, you want a fulsome discussion. We will not be the arbitrators in this particular decision, and the ALR may not be the arbitrators, the ALC may not be the arbitrators either, because we all may be subject to other regulation and policy that comes down. But I did want to express what the discussion was at the APC, and they were concerned with our using our industrial land for industrial production of cannabis.
Thank you. Councillor Holmes.
I just have a question I'd like to put out there, just out of curiosity. When I was a kid, I lived in southwestern Ontario for a while, and we were completely surrounded by tobacco fields, tobacco farms. And I don't know what they are now. I'm sure they're not tobacco anymore. But I'm just curious if anybody knows, is tobacco an accepted crop under the Land Commission, ALC? You know?
I believe it is. Councillor Barclay,
I
another?
was just going to say about the only thing that isn't, I think, is mushroom farming.
Does anyone have any more questions for Frank? No? Thank you very much, Frank. We will discuss this further. So if someone would like to bring forward the recommendation or a recommendation, then we can discuss how to move forward. Yes, Councillor Booth?
Would you like me to read it?
Yeah, let's read it out
Okay.
loud.
That the district's Agriculture Advisory Committee be authorized to forward their written submission prepared on March 20th, 2018 to the Minister of Agriculture's Independent Advisory Committee to provide input on recommendations for the revitalization of the Agricultural Land Reserve and the Agricultural Land Commission.
And a seconder? Councillor Peak. Any discussion? Yes, Councillor Barkwell.
I would like to propose an amendment to the proposal that item 3C be changed so that our recommendation from Summerland is that only our cannabis only be grown on on industrial land. And there's reasons. If I get a seconder, then we'll discuss it.
Yeah, you can do an amend, that's a motion for an amendment. Now you vote on the amendment, and once you've voted on the amendment, you go back to the main motion.
So is there anyone that would like to second the amendment? Councillor Holmes?
I'll second it.
Would like to second that? Okay, so
So now you're speaking just the amendment,
the
you're speaking,
motion on the floor would be to amend,
it's
to
just
move
the
this-
amendment, it's just the amendment that you're speaking
Yeah.
to.
to amend to include only on industrial land and exclude from agriculturally zoned. Some comments. Yes, Councillor Barkwell.
I note the APC's comments about preserving our industrial land, but that is using it for an industrial purpose. There is no comparison of if you were to put one of these buildings on agricultural land. Well, I guess this motion as it reads would not permit a big building on agricultural land, but nevertheless, I think that's outweighed by the problems that having fields of marijuana or even greenhouses, which are less likely to be have the odor control that the industrial setting will have. I think that is just a problem we don't want to have to deal with.
The CAO would like to clarify something.
So I want to clarify, this is a little bit more unusual in that it's a document that's been prepared by the ALC. So what you're actually, if you do an amendment, what you need to be clear on is if you're telling them you can't submit this on behalf of the commission unless you change this, or if you're asking them to consider changing it, it's not your, the way unless you change the main resolution to say that it's the districts, but the way that this is worded is it's coming from the the agricultural committee, and it's their information. So just be careful on your wording there.
So what my proposal was, or what I understood my proposal was, to forward the document as written with this modification.
But the way this is coming forward is that this is their document. They haven't brought this to you to be your document. The way it's written right now is to remain their document submitted by the committee on behalf of the district. So you can't tell them to make the change. You can tell them that they're not authorized to send it if they don't want to change it. But you can't tell them to change it if it's coming from them.
That puts us in a bit of a bind, because we do want to submit something, and we want it to be what council's direction is.
Right, and you can change, and you can make your own submission. It's more of a protocol than anything else. If a person has given you their document and is retaining, wants their name on it, then you can't insist that you can recommend that they change it, or you can submit it yourself in a modified manner.
There's two things that I'm thinking here. One is we see what happens to this vote, and the other is that we suggest that perhaps C just be taken out of the document and not discuss marijuana until we have more information, and it can be a more robust conversation specifically about marijuana production, perhaps a conversation between the Ag Advisory Committee and Council and some other, perhaps other form of leadership where we have more provincial guidelines and legislation in place. Because for a document of this, I think this is a really important document, and I think for the legalization of cannabis to skew what it is that the District of Summerland and the Agriculture Advisory Committee is trying to say, is really just putting two things together that shouldn't be put together at this point in time. I don't think the Land Commission and the ALR are asking for full conversation right now on whether or not cannabis should be allowed. I don't think that's the purpose of having this Revite project. So I would suggest that we have a vote, since it's something on the table, but if it would make more sense to just try and see if we can get rid of the component completely, it might be another option. Councillor Boot and then Barkwell.
If we were to get rid of 3C completely, isn't that in effect doing exactly what Councillor Barkwell is suggesting? That we're kind of, telling them what they need to do? I don't know.
I think what I'm sort of implying is that then we're not having the debate about ALR versus industrial. We're leaving the cannabis debate out of this completely because it's such a huge issue that it might be its own letter to the Land Commission. I don't know.
But isn't it amending the document that we have in front of us?
So that's the question, yeah. Is it better to, if there's no agreement that we should go this way or that way, then maybe we go neither way, I think is what I'm getting at, which might be a cop-out, but I think it would be, it would make things a little bit easier. I mean, I'm in favor, I like the document as it is, and I think that the way that it was presented makes sense, and there's going to be a lot more to be said about the issue of cannabis legalization, and I don't know how much. I'd like to think that everything in here will be, taken into account and put into play, but we can't assume that this is one of thousands of documents they're receiving, so.
I was just going to say that the same thing as Councillor Boot, but it leaves us in the same position. We'll have to have a different resolutions saying that we would making the presentation from us rather than the advisory committee then. Either way.
Or authorizing them to submit it without that
Yeah.
line in it.
But it's
Councillor
another
Holmes?
resolution.
Councillor Holmes?
Yeah, I mean, that's my understanding, is if it's all or nothing in a way. This is, we're just deciding whether the committee, if we're okay with the committee submitting this or not. And the details, that's not, take it or leave it, right? I mean, for me, I tend to agree with Councillor Barkwell when it comes to marijuana, that if you don't eat it or you don't drink it, then it probably shouldn't be growing on ALR land. But that's kind of moot right now, as was said. And I would hate to see. I wouldn't want to return it, given the time pressures. I wouldn't want to return it to the committee to ask them to look, to consider dropping Section C or changing it or whatever. I would be, and so I'd be comfortable with them just sending it as is, as they've requested.
Councillor Peak?
I make note in the conclusion of the report itself, it says it will form the official submission on behalf of the District of Summerland. If we pass the amendment to the resolution, then in effect, we are not then making that submission from council as presented by the ALC committee. And therefore, we might make a change, and I don't know what the vote will be on the amendment, but we would then make a change about who might submit the report. Because in fact, the ALC could submit their own report to this particular survey, rather than on the behalf of the district.
So we've had that conversation when, as staff was working through with the Agricultural Committee. And in order to present their findings on behalf of the committee, they need council's direction to do so. So that's why it's here. That nothing stops each one of them from submitting on their own, the documents on their own. If it's submitted by the committee, the committee is an extension of council.
So it has to be
So it would be,
supported by us.
so that's the purpose of its being supported by you. You don't have, it's true what Councillor Holmes said. You don't necessarily, if you don't disagree, as you know, like it doesn't need to be exactly your words, but you do need to recognize it'll be seen as the District of Summerland.
Well, I just want to need clarity on who, is it us or is it the committee?
So how the resolution is written is that the committee submits it, because that's the discussion that was being had at the committee. Dean and I and Alex had a number of conversations about that. With most of our committees, the recommendations would have come here to council. You would have then you would have taken it, and it would have been a District of Summerland council recommendation. But as we've had some conversations, there's value in the ALC seeing that we're working with committees. And so in this particular case, it would be, how it's written right now would be coming from the ALC, basically with support of the district, the committee, with support of district council.
Anyone else? No. Yes, Councillor Barkwell.
Well, I mean, I'm not hung up on this. I think the chances of field-grown marijuana are pretty slim to none.
Yes.
And the balance of the report is excellent. I think it states, the community's position on every topic they're asked for comment. So I'm easy. I don't want to get it tied up in a huge bureaucratic hurdle here just to make a minor point. So.
Okay. So that
So
means
vote
that
on
the motion on the table is to change, or to basically to not.
Is the change.
is to
Motion
make
on
a change,
table.
which
Just make
would
a
be to
change.
then not allow
Right.
this to be submitted.
So if you want
So
to
we
go
need
back.
to vote on that.
We need to vote on
Yes.
that.
Yes.
So, all in favor? Opposed? Okay. Motion is defeated. So we will go back to
The
the
main
original motion. Would somebody like to move it as presented?
I think it's already
It's
been
already moved and
seconded.
moved.
Now it's
Oh,
just
we go
vote.
back, okay.
Yeah.
All in favor? Oh,
Could I have?
yes, a comment.
Yes. I understand Councillor Barkwell's remarks about the smell related to cannabis as a crop. I do feel that overriding policy will probably give us whatever we need for production purposes, whether it's on agricultural land or whether it's on industrial land. So I am comforted by understanding that the advocacy on those things will probably come further along in the process. So I am comfortable, because I think this is a very well-written report, to support the submission as it stands.
Thank you. Anyone else?
Just to comment. I also understand what Councillor Barkwell is saying, although perhaps not for the same reasons. I personally would rather not see cannabis or tobacco or something that's smoked growing on ALR land. However, if it's still a crop, then that land can be used in the future for an agricultural product that actually feeds us. So I don't have any problems with this being sent on to the ALC.
All right. Anyone else? Nope. I think we'll leave it at that. If I'll call the question. Who's all in favor? All right, motion is carried. So the Agricultural Advisory Committee will send their letter forward to the Land Commission. And if anyone else, either in council or the gallery, has thoughts that they would like to add, they're welcome to send those as well. The submissions are open until April 30th, and you can go online to find the feedback forms. So we'll move on to 12.1. True Grain has requested an outdoor patio for the summer. There is a printed document with some information, so I will ask Linda to present that to us, please.
So council, we apologize for, whoa. We apologize for the lateness of this particular report. As you are aware, True Grain had asked about a seasonal patio quite some time ago. I've met with Todd Laidlaw a number of times to discuss it. In doing the research of other patios, typically now the patio bylaws, they're usually done in bylaw form now or policy sometimes, are quite extensive and addresses a number of design guidelines that are required. And after review and acknowledging that the downtown plan, as we talked at the committee of the whole this meeting this morning, is development of the downtown plan is imminent. We're recommending that we approve the request to develop a patio with True Grain, and that we work with Mr. Laidlaw from True Grain to develop a license to occupy. This would be in the 3 parking spots. If we had 23 restaurants waiting to get a patio in Summerland, like other municipalities of this size have, we would need to take a different approach with this, because we would be needing to look on the impact on the parking and a number of questions and do full consultation. But we don't. We could get more. We could get 1 or 2 more, but that would be doable too. But we won't get more than that at this point in time. So we're recommending that you authorize staff to work with Mr. Laidlaw and there's I mean, when you look at any of the well-developed, in municipalities that have the patio programs, Fernie, Nelson, Kamloops, Vernon, and Qualicum, lots of them. The guidelines are all very similar, and they really revolve around safety, making sure that you have enough room around the patio to access that pedestrian walkway is not impeded, that there is a fee attached, and as I mentioned in the report, the sort of a mid-range fee is $10 or $11 per square meter. And some people might say, well, we don't charge for parking, so we're not losing revenue. Why don't we use it for economic development and allow it to just go without a fee? But we have to be mindful for businesses that don't have the opportunity to have a patio. They pay taxes on all of their floor space, and the fee is really meant to be to mimic what it would cost if they needed to buy or rent some extra space, the same as to keep it on even. And the community charter doesn't allow assistance to business, and that would be a stretch. Typically, you would see people complaining if you didn't have a fee. The $10 to $11 a square meter, if a person was to make a patio in 3 of the angled parking spots and use the entire space up and fence it, that would probably be equal to be about $425. That's the high end, because we're saying it wouldn't be any bigger than that. And depending on I haven't gone there and looked at the frontage, if it would be 2 or 3. But I think it would make an excellent pilot project. It would be good to work with Mr. Laidlaw, who is expressing a great desire to build to the highest possible measures to have an attractive patio. And then the other, as I said, that they do take building oversight. There needs to be insurance in place, the appropriate barriers in the fencing, and the seasonal and we have to talk to Works if May 1st works, or if it would be May 10th or something, depending on street sweeping and cleanup. So there's some details, but if council does give us this direction, we could work very quickly to get it happening, and then we could start working in conjunction with the downtown plan of a bigger picture.
All right. So any questions before?
They had their hands up.
Okay, Councillor Peak, then Holmes, then Boot.
Well, I was wondering if I might bring the motion forward as it reads, that we might be able to have some discussion and
Sure,
debate.
that would be
So
fine.
that the request from True Grain to launch a seasonal patio be approved, and that staff be directed to develop and execute a license to occupy with True Grain, outlining the terms, conditions, and fees governing the construction and operation of the patio. And 2, that staff be directed to develop an outdoor seasonal patio policy bylaw, including a community consultation process for implementation in 2019 in conjunction with the development of the downtown plan.
And a seconder. Councillor Holmes. Did you have a comment then?
Yes, I agree in principle for the discussion that was led by our CAO. I'm wondering, and again, not to be particular, but when you look at 3 parking spaces, you might get close to the end of the parking area. Therefore, you may want to consume, like, where it comes to the planter edge. It might be 4 spaces that make more sense there or something.
Right, and I haven't, as I said, in particular with this application, I didn't go and walk
No,
it
neither.
out. So if it's a part,
There may be a safety measure in leaving 1 parking space between the end of where we have that jut out for that boulevard.
yeah, if that does cut it down.
Anyway, that's just a comment, not a
Okay.
specific.
Councillor Holmes.
Yeah, I think these jet outs or whatever they're called were discussed during the cultural planning process when we were doing the cultural plan, and it was kind of seen as a way of almost an interim. You know, if we can't widen the sidewalks, you know, but it is a way of allowing these outdoor patios and contribute to the vibrancy of downtown and that sort of thing. And it's not something that's new for us. Sweet Tooth had one for years, right? And you know, so I don't think anybody's going to kind of freak out about the whole concept. So I don't think. You know, I don't see anybody having a problem with it just because we did have one on, you know, for years downtown. But my question was, it's kind of the same as Councillor Peake's. If it's on angled parking, does that mean it would be an angled patio?
No, typically not. Typically business owners design it, so they're sometimes angled or stepped, but they can't go further than the closest part in, so quite often they're still straight and they don't take up the entire three. They usually take up 2.5 and then have room on the side. So it's just the typical rule is that it can only be in immediate front of your storefront, and so that particular business has a fairly wide storefront there. So. But many of the agreements are 2 on angle parking. So when we said 3, it's actually greater than a lot of them. So it should be plenty of room for the size that's wanted.
Councillor Boot.
Thank you. I have 3 questions. Knowing that we can't give assistance to businesses, I'm wondering if the waiving of the application fee would be considered that or not.
No, because that's a processing fee. I would say not in this particular case. There's many things that we do here. Most license to occupy that we issue, there's no application fee that goes for it. Like if a person has an awning that we are doing a license to occupy, it's hanging over, there's no application fee. It's just a standard fee that's typical for new patios in bylaws, but it's not a service that's any different than what we already do without fees.
Okay, so in the longer-term bylaw that will be created, there won't be an application fee associated with that? It'll just be the permit fee?
I think that we have to look at best practices at that point in time. But sometimes it's annual and sometimes it's a one-time processing fee, but it doesn't, there'll be probably many things that change from what we do in this particular one and what we end up doing. There'll be many things that are different. It might be that we agree on 3 spaces as a maximum now. We may agree only 2,
Okay.
so.
I get, my question is, it says typically such permits are subject to an additional application fee.
Right.
However, given the pilot project nature of this request, staff recommends that an application fee is waived. So that implies to me that typically there would be an additional application fee. Is that the case or not?
What I was referencing was that typically when you read municipalities' bylaws and policies, very typically, there's an application fee.
Okay.
When they have a full-scale program.
So that's on top of the permit fee?
That's right.
Okay, and then my next question is, then does the business apply for the permit every year? Or is it just like a business license, the notice goes out?
So again, that's one of the reasons that we didn't want to implement a full-scale policy at this point in time, because there's different best practices. Some, especially when you've seen it work in your community in the parking spaces where we're talking about fencing and everything. There's municipalities that have now gone to a 3-year a license to occupy, so that there's certainly, because there's quite a bit of expense that if you're going to do it properly, that you have to do the construction. So
Right.
you look at multi-year. I've had that conversation. In this particular case, the understanding is that it would be this year, and he's willing to take the risk of being a
Okay.
1 year.
So that nicely segues it into my last question, and that is, are the patios, I'm just trying to remember, the Sweet Tooth patio, I think, was just there during the warmer summer months? Yeah, so it was like a temporary construction?
Absolutely.
Is that what is envisioned here?
Absolutely. With street snow plowing, et cetera, it's not
Yeah.
acceptable to keep them up. So they're definitely seasonal patios that need to be modular.
Okay, thank you.
Anyone else? Councillor Peak?
I'd like to say that I think that the construction of patio spaces within our community will be a boost to tourism. I think we're exactly the kind of community that wants to see this type of ambience. It was certainly spoken about at the Cultural Committee. I know it was spoken about during the election process. I just think it's the right thing for us to be able to do. And I think that Todd's application for True Grain is a good test of how we get started, and then staff can work on a policy and the principles behind that as well. So I'm really pleased to see this come forward.
Thank you. Anyone else? Nope, we'll call the question then. All in favor? Motion carries. Moving on, 12.2, pickleball court allocation and fees. I'll pass this over to Lori Mullen.
Thank you. So the purpose of this report is to review the Summerland Pickleball Club's request for pickleball court allocation for 2018, as well as the Recreation Commission's recommendations, and for staff to receive direction on confirming court allocations and fees for 2018. On April 5th, the Recreation Commission met and was provided a pickleball report, regional research, and 3 letters from the community. There was 1 community representative in the gallery, as well as 1 representative from the pickleball club that spoke at the beginning of the Rec Commission meeting and were available to answer questions. The research is clearly indicating that all municipalities are struggling with the growth of pickleball and the demands to meet those within their community, so we're not alone in Summerland. However, almost all communities do have local pickleball clubs who are taking the leadership role, coordinating all the pickleball activities in their outdoor season. Most municipalities are providing dedicated prime time court allocations for their pickleball clubs to offer pickleball opportunities. Upon review of the fees and agreements in other communities to the pickleball clubs, there's no consistency among the communities. It ranges for some communities are not charging anything for dedicated court use, to flat fees anywhere from $250 a season to $1,000 a season, to hourly court fees, to per member rates. Some communities have identified that because the sport is so new and growing so quickly, they are conducting allocation times and fees on a seasonal trial basis and reviewing and amending annually. As noted in the council report, the Summerland Pickleball Club has submitted their request for court allocations for 2018. For 2017, the club was approved 4.5 hours a week for club programming and 10.5 hours per week for public pickleball on all 3 of the courts at Peach Orchard. For 2018, the club is requesting 9 hours per week for club programming and 7.5 hours for public pickleball on all 3 of the Peach Orchard campground courts. plus an additional 2-hour time slot on Monday evenings for scheduled programs, but that would be only on the 2 pickleball courts. In comparison to the regional allocations, this proposed schedule is below the average dedicated hours per week than in other communities. And the schedule was reviewed by the Tennis Association and the campground operator, and they had no concerns expressed with this proposed schedule. There were, however, a few community members who expressed concern that the proposed pickleball club exclusive programming time was scheduled at the 9 a.m. time slot 4 mornings per week. One person noted that they would prefer to see more public pickleball access in the earlier morning time slot and would prefer the schedule be flipped to have the club programming time 3 days a week in the earlier time slot. And that's outlined in the council report and the charts at the end of the report. There were also a few concerns expressed about what is the public pickleball time and using the paddle rack system, and feeling that that might be a little bit too structured for their liking. And I hosted a couple of meetings in my office with some of the community members and representatives from the pickleball club. And those people that expressed concern about that paddle rack system did at the end of the meeting agree that they would try it for this year and see if it could work for them. The Recreation Commission deliberated all the information, and rather than being general on the court use and booking fees, their recommendations did go a step further to be specific around pickleball for 2018, using an approach that is being used in many other communities, which is allowing dedicated primetime booking for the local pickleball club and issuing a nominal fee in its early years. As per the Recreation Commission's recommendations, as noted in the council report, they supported the Summerland Pickleball Club's proposed schedule and recommended a fee of $300 for the season. So with that, the staff recommendation is council pass the resolution as outlined in the council report, supporting the recommendation made by the Summerland Recreation Commission to allow Summerland Pickleball Club exclusive use of the Peach Orchard Campground courts as outlined, and that staff be directed to prepare a booking agreement for the use of the pickleball courts for the negotiated amount of $300 for the season. So with that, I'd be happy to answer any questions.
Does anyone have any questions? Councillor Holmes.
Just for clarification, if I remember correctly, the fee was keeping in mind that that the commission would be reviewing in the future all the fees and recreation fees in the future, covering everything moving forward, and this was just seen as a initial fee set by for this year.
That is correct. It was noted that that would be proposed for 2018, and then the review of fees and charges for all parks and admissions for recreation would be reviewed with recommendations looking for 2019.
Councillor Peak.
Yes, I'm very pleased that there was good discussion. Did you feel comfortable in the fulsomeness of the discussion, both with the public that were interested in playing as well as the pickleball court club group?
A lot of discussion. I think it was really great to have the community members and the pickleball club representatives to meet together and talk about some solutions and looking at this year as a trial season to see how it works. It's really hard to meet the needs of everybody in the community, and I know that there are community members that would still wish to have those times flipped. But I think, on a trial basis for this year, we see how it works. And some of those community members are now active members within the pickleball club, and they're trying to work together. So I'm hopeful.
Very good. Thank you.
Councillor Boot.
Thank you. When there is nobody using the designated times on the pickleball court, are they locked?
No, they're open public courts, just like a tennis court.
Okay, so outside of the 7.5 hours per week for public and 9 hours per week plus 2 hours slot on Monday evenings for the pickleball club use, anyone can use the club, or sorry, the pickleball courts at any time.
That is correct.
Okay. And are they lit?
I don't think so, no.
Okay, thank you.
Anyone else? Yes, Councillor Peak.
I will bring this forward as, I'll read just the preamble. The recommendation made by the Summerland Recreation Commission to allow the Summerland Pickleball Club exclusive use of the Peach Orchard Campground Court as outlined be supported. I won't read all the times, but they're there. And 2, that staff be directed to prepare a booking agreement for the use of the pickleball courts at the Peach Orchard Campground for a negotiated amount of $300 for the season of May 1st to October 1st, 2018, or until the winter court closure.
Seconder. Councillor Holmes, thank you. Is there any more comments? Yes, Councillor Holmes.
Just want to say that the Rec Commission did have a pretty good thrashing out of this whole thing, and it's so it was the recommendation doesn't come lightly. It was a lot of thought was put into it and a lot of discussions.
Councillor Peak, and then
Yes, I want to commend the community. I think emerging sports are a very important thing, and to have the public come to us and the youth come to us and talk to us about the kinds of things that they want to see happen in the community is really important. So I'm very pleased that this kind of partnership and discussion came about. I'm fully in support of it.
I'll just make a comment to follow up on Councillor Boot. On the schedule that we see, it says noon till dusk is basically general use, so that's 8.5 hours every day at least that it can be used by anybody. And it may be hot some days, but not all days. So I think that should be a nice compromise, and I hope things go well this season. Any more comments?
I just have one quick comment. It says in here the Pickleball Club has offered to have volunteer hosts to assist with welcoming players and talking to them about the paddle rack system. I think that's commendable as well, because, I mean, we all know how many hours were stretched with volunteer work in the community, and I think that this is just another example of how this community can pull together when it wants to.
All right. So, call the question then. All in favor? And motion's carried. All right. Moving on to 12.3, Bentley Road retaining wall failure. I will pass this along to Chris Johnson to give us some background, please.
All right. Thank you, Council. The purpose of this report was to bring forward the property owner's request to construct a rock barrier on the Bentley Road right-of-way near the property where a retaining wall failed last May. Since that wall failed, they had a geotech assess the slope, provide some interim measures for protecting that area, as well as, which were implemented, but that included closing off one lane of travel on Bentley Road for a period of time. As we moved into the winter months, there were issues with winter road maintenance and keeping that road closure in place. The blocks were moved directly below the area where the wall had failed for that period of time. While this was going on, there was discussions with the property owner, with their geotech, about getting a solution, getting a design, and getting some construction happening to remediate the failed wall and protect that slope. It's evolved till now where we're through winter months. The wall is still where it was when we moved it at the start of the winter season, and we only recently received a design at the start of April. After discussions with them saying that the solution had to be on private property to protect this revised design came forward to show the south portion encroaching onto the Bentley Road right-of-way. So the request is coming forward to see if council would entertain allowing that to be constructed within the right-of-way, and then also to get some direction on how we can, what steps staff can be directed to take to ensure that this issue is rectified as soon as possible, given the amount of time that has lapsed already.
And just to follow up just a little bit more on that, I don't think we should underestimate the amount of concern that staff has now that we're fully aware of the length of time this has been and the reports from the geotech. I just want to emphasize that this is something that's happened on private property, and this is something that we do not have any information from geotechnical professionals that it's not a risk, and it should be monitored by traffic lights at this point in time, and the liability will sit with the district to some degree if we don't take action and get this moving.
All right, questions? Yes, Councillor Holmes.
The blocks, the two high blocks that are there now, are they on, whose property are they on? Are they on the right-of-way now?
They're within the road right away, yes.
They are, okay. And do they, what is their reasoning for saying that they want it on the right-of-way rather than their own property? Is this a matter of cost?
We haven't got the details. We asked that question, but haven't received it. But yeah, one reason was that the existing material, the blast rock that has been placed there, the toe of that slope already extends into the road right of way. And so by cutting that toe of that slope back, it creates instability within the existing material that's there to construct a solution on private property. However, it likely comes down to cost. That's you're trying to cut that slope back and create something further back on private property would just be more costly to do so.
See, I would like to hear from the owner of the property of why they feel this is needed, and and if they're not willing to, then then I'm happy to support the staff recommendation. But I think, to be fair, we ought to hear from them.
So if for that process, I would have expected if someone wanted to speak, they would have spoken at the beginning. But council does have the opportunity to invite a speaker if you have a unanimous motion to speak. That's the procedure by law.
I have a question. Are there other, obviously it's extremely risky because it comes down onto a road. Are there other properties, homes, anything in the surrounding area that's also at risk? Like the same as the road would be, or traveling or walking people?
No, the concerns that the geotech has voiced are single boulders that make up that blast rock fill slope right now, those coming down onto the roadway. So it's not that a large scale material slide is expected. It's those individual boulders to continue to tumble down as the slope shifts.
At any point. Councillor Barkle?
I don't want to get ahead of myself. Are we going to deal with inviting a speaker?
I don't know, have we had indication that,
Just from Councillor Holmes? But
no, from the speaker?
Oh,
The
from
chair would maybe invite the speaker if they want to speak, and then we can
I
vote.
see. If they're,
Are they here? I don't know.
is the owner in the gallery and have any interest in speaking to this issue? No. So there's no interest in pursuing it. So it's up to us to make a decision, I believe, and I think
So
we should seriously consider listening to what staff and our engineers are telling us.
I think, again, if this timeline hadn't been such, staff was actively, before Dean left, it was his file to be dealing with, and he was actively trying to get activity, which is why we've included some information on here. Even if council doesn't approve it to go on, we do then, the next step will be to get some timelines in place, and if it's not done, to look at what remediation we have to do the work ourselves and charge the property itself, because again, the risk is high, and there's legislation that allows us to do that with process. So we just could not get any cooperation and recognition of the magnitude.
Pete Barkle Holmes.
Thank you very much. I have concerns. I was traveling out there in the fall. It was very frustrating working with the system that was there. I take the report from the staff seriously, and I would be prepared to bring the motion forward as stated.
Seconder for that motion? Councillor Boot. Councillor Barkle, we have a comment.
Yeah, question for Mr. Johnson. We're all aware of the problem on the north piece. I had several complaints made to me about how long that light was there, but I'm wondering about the south. And what was if the issue hadn't come up with the north property, would there have been any issue with the south property?
Well, I guess the issues of the entire slope came about through the geo assessment that was done following the rock wall failure. And it's been identified that entire slope has instability issues that need to be addressed.
Councillor Holmes.
Yeah, just following up on my earlier questioning, was the owner of the property aware that this was coming before council tonight?
Through the geotechnical engineer, the geotech was aware of this report coming forward and this request being brought forward to council when the request was made to the district.
And the geotech is is the property owner's representative. That is the person that we're dealing with, so yes.
So they knew we were discussing it tonight?
Yes.
Anyone else have a comment? I'd like to just add that I think that this needs to be dealt with as soon as possible, and if it's important that we put that light back in place, even though it may be frustrating, I think that people need to exercise caution and practice patience when it comes to things like this, because it is important to make sure that it's safe, and if it's up to us to ensure that, then I would suggest, regardless of how quickly this moves forward, we determine if that light needs to go back in or not. So, if anyone has any more comments, I guess we'll call the question then. All in favor? The motion is carried. 12.4, CAO?
This one doesn't really need any explanation. It has come forward each year, just, but if you, Mr. Johnson can answer questions if there are any.
I did have a quick question. I understand the idea is that we would like to go with the cheapest or the best deal. I wonder how much extra effort it is to deal with two companies as opposed to just one company for about $3,000 or less difference. Is it actually worth the effort to be billing and doing everything twice?
Yeah, the purchases for these chemicals are made individually at different times throughout the year, so
it doesn't
there's
really
no
matter.
impact on dealing with the different ones.
Okay. In that case, if someone wants to bring it forward, Councillor
My favorite
Holmes?
caustic soda annual motion.
Seconder? Councillor Peak? All in favor? It's carried. 12.5, we have a financial plan amendment. Do I pass that to
Mr.
Savlechny?
Thank you, Madam Mayor. On April 9th, Council adopted the 2018 to 2022 five-year financial plan bylaw. Now, over the past few weeks, an additional water capital project has been identified that will require a financial plan amendment in order for the project to move forward in 2018, and that if Council agrees with the project. The school district has notified staff that they'll be moving forward with the installation of geothermal system at Summerland Secondary. Part of the project requires them to install infrastructure which is directly above the district's water main in a right-of-way. Now, based on discussions with the manager of works, the current water main that is underground is approximately 80 years old and is nearing end of life. So staff recommends that the district be proactive in replacing this piece of infrastructure. At the same time, the school district is, as the site will already be under excavation. Not doing the project in tandem with the school district could potentially result in increased future costs, as the district would be required then to work around the geothermal system that would already be in place. So staff is recommending that we move forward with this. And the funding for this project is being proposed to come out of the Capital Reserve Fund. Another water capital project that requires a minor adjustment is for the installation of a bridge along Garnet Dam access road. The original budget for this project was $100,000. And now, after going through the RFP process, the lowest proposal that we've received was $120,000. As council is aware, this project is an emergent need due to the possibility of flooding, and the contract already has been awarded. The increased $20,000 over the budget was approved by the CAO under the emergency purchase provisions of the district's purchasing policy. However, staff feel the financial plan bylaw should be adjusted to reflect the actual increased cost. And there are two recommendations for council's consideration. Thank you.
Thank you. Councillor Holmes?
Yes, for the Garnet Dam Bridge, when we were discussing it before, we talked about the possibility of seeing if there's any grant funding available for that. I was just wondering if we looked into that.
And we did submit a grant application. Chris Johnson completed the application. It was submitted on time, and if it gets approved, it'll be eligible to be put against it, but we won't hear.
It was a 90-day turnaround.
It was a
time.
90-day,
So
yeah.
mid-June, we should hear.
Okay.
Anyone else? Councillor Barkwell.
So this bridge is to ensure that there can always be access to the control station that's there below the dam, is that correct? Or sorry,
And the dam structure itself.
access to the dam with equipment and such?
Correct. Currently, there was just a small culvert that the spillway would have to flow through, so this would increase that capacity for that spillway and not risk losing that in a washout if the flow increased.
But it's more than just people you want to get over there, you want to get equipment maybe, or whatever, yeah.
Correct.
Yeah, okay.
Councillor Peak.
I'll bring the motion forward. Staff be directed to amend the financial plan to include a $30,000 water main replacement at Summerland Senior Secondary School in the Water Capital Fund, and the project be funded through the Water Capital Reserve Fund. And second, that staff be directed to amend the financial plan by increasing Garnet Dam Road Access Bridge budgeted amount to $120,000, and the additional funding be allocated from the Water Capital Reserve Fund.
Thank you. Seconder. Councillor Boot. Any more questions or comments? Yes.
I'd like to say I commend the staff on seeing that the project be done at the same time that the work is being done at the Summerland Secondary School. There are so many jokes made about bureaucracy and not getting to work until after the fact, and then you're digging up secondary areas. So I'm pleased that we'll be doing it in conjunction with the work they're originating.
Does anyone know if they're building a spa at the school with this geothermal? It's just in Iceland, and it's phenomenal what they do there. Okay, I'll call the question then. All in favor? Motion carries. Do we have any new business? No. Don't think so. We'll carry on to 14 bylaws. 14.1, adoption of parcel tax bylaw, Mountain View growers. We have someone, it's just an adoption. Councillor Holmes? Councillor Boot. All in favor? Carried. Now we have a zoning bylaw amendment that I will pass to the CAO.
So before I turn it over to Mr. Condor to speak to, I just wanted to note to council, you may be a little confused. This is a first and second reading, and there's very little information in here. It's still this transition between, well, when we're introducing the item, before it's going out for its referrals and for its discussion, and then it's coming here. So staff, we're just still having some miscommunication between staff. So theoretically, when it comes with your first and second reading, it should have all the background information, which Alex will now speak to, but from now on, this will come and you will have all your background. It won't just come the cursory information you get at that introductory meeting. So with that, I'll turn it over to our planner, who is here tonight in place of a director.
Okay. Thank you, Madam Mayor and Linda. That's a great summary. So this application already was presented at the last council meeting, and there is a council report that does go into greater detail, and I'll go over some of the high points. So this is a rezoning application for 8320 Prairie Valley Road. The property is currently zoned RDH, which is our duplex zone, and the proposal is to rezone to RSD1, which is our medium lot zone, our single family zone. This application isn't an application for an OCP amendment. Both the current zoning, the RDH zone, and the proposed zoning, the RSD1 zone, they fit in with the current OCP designation, which is low density residential. So this is just a rezoning application. The goal of the application is to be able to eventually apply for a subdivision application, and if the zoning is approved, the property owner would be able to do a 2-lot subdivision for 2 single-family houses.
All right, does anyone have any questions for our planner? No? Someone like to bring this motion forward, please? Councillor Peak?
I'll bring it forward as stated. I think
Yes.
the principles are clear.
And a seconder. Thanks, Councillor Barkwell. Any more comments? All right, all in favor? Motion's carried. All right, carrying on, 14.3 tax rate bylaw, 2018-011. CAO.
And Mr. Savetlichny will talk about that one too.
All right.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. So the district is required to prepare a tax rates bylaw prior to May 15th on an annual basis. At the April 9th Committee of the Whole meeting, Council reviewed the district's taxation policy, which states that the district will attempt to keep the proportional share of revenue from property value taxes at levels similar to historical amounts, adjusted for non-market changes and the changing priorities of Council. Council at this same meeting also reviewed and discussed the business ratio, which is being maintained at a ratio of 2.25 to 1. So the proposed 2018 municipal tax rates bylaw has been prepared in accordance with Council's direction to follow the district's taxation policy, as well as maintaining the previously mentioned business ratio at 2.25 to 1. Now, based on the approved 2.75% tax rate increase that was passed through the financial plan bylaw, a residential property assessed at $535,900 will see an increase in property taxes of $69 when compared to 2017. And I would like to just take this opportunity today to remind residents that property tax due date is July 6th. And after July 6th, the 10% penalty comes into effect on any amounts that have been unpaid or any homeowner grants that have not been applied for. We, as staff, strongly encourage all residents that qualify for the homeowner grant to submit their forms early, and to further remind residents that this form must be completed on an annual basis. Thank you.
Thanks. Do we have any questions regarding taxes? No? All right. Someone like to bring this forward, please? Councillor Boot, Councillor Barkwell. All in favor? Carried. On to councillor reports. Councillor Peak, please.
Thank you very kindly, Madam Mayor. I've attended the Arts Council meeting, and they are working along with the district and the architects and our community development coordinator, Angelique Wood, on the possible alterations for the Cultural and Arts Centre. I did a visit with a BC Housing with a working group, a local group that's interested in applying for funding, and I look forward to that opportunity and the district working with them as well. There was a KVR board meeting, and they have several initiatives they're working on. I attended the Arts and Culture Centre a Friday evening in music. They're they were sold out. It was a wonderful evening. Myself, along with others, attended the Chamber Business After Business, and it was at the Dental Centre. It was a very nice time. I went to the Sadie fundraiser, as did others at Zia's, and to the credit of the Rotary Club and the Credit Union, along with the funds raised in that evening, there's over $12,000 raised. It was a wonderful time. The announcer, Rock Fortin, and the Marty Van Alphen did the auctioneering. It was well done. We also saw a wonderful event at the center stage. The high school did a fundraiser and a talent show, and that was really a fun night. I'm not sure who all was able to be there, but they raised over $2,000 for their trip as well. I missed the Bike Hub map and service center being launched, but I've worked with the Trail of the Okanagan, and I think that's a great tourism opportunity for our community.
Thank you. Did you get any sleep?
Yes.
Okay, good. Councillor Holmes.
My daughter came home with 2 baskets from the talent show, so she was very happy
Nice.
with it.
Oh, good.
I attended a bunch of meetings. I just wanted to mention the Cultural Development Committee meeting last week. As you, Council, may recall, that one of the mandates of the committee is to monitor and evaluate the implementation of the cultural plan. So the committee is just starting now to look at what evaluation tools they might use to do that job, and Angelique has been a great help in that respect. So.
Thank you. Councillor Boot.
Thank you. April 10th, I attended or chaired the Okanagan's Milkmead Healthy Living Coalition meeting. And the only reason I talk about this is that this is a coalition that serves all of the residents of the RDOS, so including the people in Summerland. We had our April the 11th, I attended the Chamber of Commerce Board meeting. April the 12th, and Leanne, thank you for being here tonight. April the 12th, we had our Food Security Forum, we being the coalition in Karamias. 15 people have come forward indicating interest in participating in a regional food system, food security network, so that was fabulous. That's exactly what we were hoping for. Almost 70 people attended the event, so it was really great. You talked about that. April the 19th, I attended the RDOS meeting. April the 22nd, me and my dog walked down to the Earth Day planting at Adams Bird Sanctuary. And compared to other Earth Day events where it has actually snowed, it was an amazing day, and there were lots of people out there, so that was really great. With Councillor Peake and Councillor Holmes, I will be attending SILGA from Tuesday to Friday of this week, and then I will be missing the next meeting, regular meeting of council on May 14th, I think it is, because I will be at Royal Roads University until May the 18th. Councillors Barkwell and Carlson will be representing Summerland along with the mayor at the RDOS meetings. Thank you.
Councillor Barkwell.
With going last, there's less to say. I'm good with that. I attended the Heritage Advisory Commission, and a heads up to council, they will be proposing or reminding council of their desire to change the little bit of Kelly Avenue next to the park into Veterans Way. So hopefully we'll be coming before council again before long.
All right, thank you. Any questions from the public? Yes, Marianne.
Marianne McDonald. I'm just curious, does someone have a written policy regarding the sale? Sorry, I've been sick. Regarding the sale of municipal property, including the easements, is there a written one?
Yes.
Okay, who would I be directed to?
Mr. Deniger, the corporate officer, could get that for you.
Okay, thank you very much. That's the first one. And the second one is the repair of the walkway down between Peach Orchard and Rotary Beach. I know at a previous council meeting it had been discussed. Where is it at right at this moment?
Did you want us to answer?
If we have an answer, then that would be
Mr. Johnson can
Yeah.
answer.
Yeah, so applications to DFA and Flindrow have been submitted for that project. So we're waiting for approvals on that. And then in the meantime, we'll be completing the design and engaging a contractor to do the work. So depending on approval, we're expecting it to possibly start in the next month and a half to 2 months.
Okay. The reason is because a community member suggested something for fundraising, I guess you'd want to call it, to help with the approval of it or any future park walkways. I know you did it in Penticton where people bought a brick, for example, because I noticed around town, I've been doing a lot of walking, there are a ton of picnic tables and benches and things like that. And I know eventually you're going to run out of space for that sort of thing. And I was wondering if that would be an opportunity for people to be engaged in doing something like that as well.
That's a great suggestion. Thank you. We'll put it.
Yeah. I was
We'll
going
put it in the book.
I was going to remind council that on the list of things for the recreation manager to do was to review that bench and policy and the table policy. So those kind of ideas could go along in her consideration.
Thank you. Anyone else from the public? No? Media? Susan?
Yes. This is with regard to the Garnet Dam Access Road. To which agency has the grant application been submitted and for how much?
That was provincial. Can we get that to you tomorrow morning? Sure. I truly have a mind blank right now, and Yeah, we'll probably have to get back to you.
Okay, it was
But
an interesting point that I'd like to include in
Mhm.
that write-up, that there may be grant funds coming.
yeah.
John, Susan, any more? No? Okay. No? All right, with that, I guess we're finished. So I would like to adjourn this meeting.
You need a motion for that.
Do I need a motion?
Yeah.
I guess so. Let's take one from Councillor Peak and Councillor Holmes. All in favor? Okay.
Job well done.
Good evening.
Yeah. Good